If there is one weight loss myth I wish more women over 60 would stop carrying around, it is the belief that if the weight has not moved, the answer must be more punishment. More exercise, more restriction, more willpower, more starting over on Monday. I want to say this as plainly and lovingly as I can. If your body has changed in midlife or beyond, and you feel like you are doing everything right, but still not getting anywhere, that does not automatically mean you are lazy, broken, or not trying hard enough. Sometimes it means your strategy is exhausting you more than it is helping you. And I care so deeply about this because I lived it. When perimenopause hit me at 53, I gained 22 pounds that seemed to arrive from nowhere. My sleep fell apart. My anxiety ramped up. I was waking at 3 a.m, exhausted but somehow wired. And my body felt unfamiliar in a way that was honestly heartbreaking. I remember looking at myself and thinking, I do not understand what works anymore. And when women get to that place, they often do what the culture has trained us to do. They eat less. They skip meals. They push themselves to exercise in ways their body may not even tolerate well. They spend the whole day hungry, then wonder why by evening they feel ravenous, emotional, and out of control around food. Sweetheart, that is not a character flaw. That is biology pushing back. So today I want to talk to you about something the wellness world often gets wrong. Yes, movement matters. Strength matters. Walking matters. Muscle matters. I will never tell women over 60 that those things do not matter, because they absolutely do. But weight loss does not begin with punishment in the gym. For many women, it begins with changing the way food is working in the body. And sometimes when that starts to shift, the desire to move comes back more naturally. I was thinking about this because I once heard a story about an older man, a retired judge, who had put on a great deal of weight and was on a long list of medications. He did not go home and suddenly become a gym addict. He did not do boot camps. He did not train 6 days a week. What changed first was the way he ate. His meals became more structured, more nourishing, more satisfying, and less chaotic. Over time, the weight began to come down, and as his body felt lighter, he naturally found himself moving more. He could walk farther. He had more energy. The movement grew out of feeling better. It did not come from self-punishment. That basic arc is what matters here. And I think that is such an important distinction for women in this chapter of life. Because so many of us think we have to earn weight loss through misery. No. What we often need is steadier blood sugar, better satiety, enough protein, more fiber, less constant grazing, and a way of eating that stops keeping the body on a roller coaster all day. One of the biggest drivers of weight gain, especially in midlife and after menopause, is not simply eating too much. That is far too simplistic. The bigger issue is often that we are eating in a way that keeps us hungry. A breakfast that looks healthy on paper but has almost no protein. A snack because that breakfast never really held us. Another snack because lunch was too light. Something sweet in the afternoon because energy crashed. Then dinner arrives and the body is so underfed, overstimulated, and tired that it wants quick comfort and plenty of it. That pattern is incredibly common. And the frustrating part is that many women think they are being disciplined because they are eating little bits here and there. But what the body often experiences is instability. Blood sugar up, blood sugar down, hunger up, energy down, cravings up, confidence down. That is not a body that feels safe enough to release weight easily. So let us start with the first shift that matters: satisfaction. I wish more women understood that a meal should not just be low in calories. It should be satisfying enough that your body can exhale after it. That usually means some kind of real protein, some fiber-rich carbohydrate if it works well for you, healthy fat, and enough volume from plants that you actually feel fed. Not stuffed, not deprived, fed. This is where so many women go wrong with breakfast. They start the day with toast and jam, cereal, a muffin, maybe fruit by itself, or coffee and something small. Then by mid-morning, they are fading. Of course they are. That meal did not give the body much to hold on to. But when breakfast is more substantial, everything can change. Maybe it is eggs with vegetables and avocado. Maybe it is Greek yogurt with chia, berries, and nuts. Maybe it is a savory bowl with leftovers, greens, and some beans. Maybe it is oats, but with protein and seeds added so it actually stays with you. The point is not one perfect breakfast. The point is that your first meal needs to support the woman you are now, not the metabolism you had at 27. And yes, carbohydrates are part of this conversation, but I want to talk about them in a sane way, because women have been so harmed by extreme food messaging. Carbohydrates are not the devil. Your body can absolutely use them. But all carbohydrates are not equal, and quantity, timing, and context matter. When most of your carbs are refined, easy to overeat, and not paired with much protein or fiber, the body often burns through them quickly. You get energy, then a drop. Hunger, then cravings. This is why many women feel like they are good all day and still end up overeating at night. It is not a mystery. They were undernourished, not out of control. So instead of asking, how do I cut every carb? I want you to ask a wiser question. Which carbs actually serve me? Which ones satisfy me? Which ones send me into a hunger spiral? That is such a different conversation. For many women, the answer looks like less sugar, less grazing on baked goods and crackers and random snack food, and more intentional carbohydrates that come with fiber and nourishment. Beans, lentils, vegetables, fruit, maybe oats, maybe potatoes, maybe grains in portions that work for your body. The answer is not always go lower and lower. The answer is usually get smarter and steadier. Because one thing the reference story gets right, beneath all the oversimplified language, is this. When meals are built around fiber, healthy fats, and satisfying foods, hunger often calms down. And when hunger calms down, weight loss becomes less about white-knuckling and more about rhythm. That brings me to meal timing, which I think can be surprisingly powerful for women over 60. I am not interested in making everyone follow some trendy fasting plan. I do not believe there is one schedule that fits every woman, every hormone picture, every medication, or every life. But I do think many women do better when they stop eating in a totally random, non-stop way. The body likes rhythm, a real breakfast, a real lunch, maybe dinner. Less mindless snacking in between. That does not mean you never eat between meals. Some women need that. Some are on medications that make meal spacing important. Some do better with 3 meals and 1 protein-rich snack. But the bigger principle is that the body often benefits when we stop constantly poking at hunger with little bites of unsatisfying food. Every time you eat, your body is responding. Your appetite signals are responding. Your blood sugar is responding. Your brain is responding. So if you are eating all day long but never truly nourishing yourself, that can become a problem. I also want to talk about evening eating because this is where so many women feel defeated. They tell me, Diana, I do fine until dinner, or I'm good all day, but nights are my downfall. And I always say the same thing. Let us get curious before we get judgmental. Were you under-eating earlier? Was lunch too small? Did protein disappear from the day? Are you eating out of true hunger or out of exhaustion, loneliness, reward, or habit? Are you trying to use dinner to fix a whole day of unmet needs? That matters so much. Now, I do think many women feel better when dinner is not the heaviest meal of the day. The original transcript leans hard into that idea, and while I would not turn it into a rigid rule, I do think there is wisdom there. A very large, heavy meal late at night does not always feel good in a body over 60. Sleep can suffer, reflux can worsen, digestion can feel slow, and if dinner becomes the emotional center of the day because everything before it was too skimpy, that can work against your goals. So I often encourage women to try this gentle shift. Make breakfast and lunch more nourishing, then allow dinner to be satisfying but not enormous. A lovely soup, salmon and vegetables, a hearty salad with protein, beans and roasted vegetables. Something that feels like care, not compensation. And I want to be clear about something else. You do not need to earn your dinner with exercise. I know that message is everywhere. Burn this to deserve that. Walk this much to offset that. Punish your body into balance. No. Movement is a gift, not a debt payment. What I have seen over and over again is that when women begin eating in a way that stabilizes appetite and gives them real nourishment, their bodies often feel more capable of moving. They are not dragging themselves through the day on fumes. They are not so inflamed and exhausted that every walk feels miserable. Energy returns, confidence returns, and then movement becomes something they can build from a place of care. That is such a different path. And while we are here, I also want to say a word about extreme low-carb diets, because the reference transcript brings up that whole conversation too. Some women do feel better lowering carbohydrates, especially if they were eating a very processed, very sugary diet before. That can absolutely help. But extreme is not always better. I do not want women over 60 slashing food groups out of fear and ending up under-eating fiber, overdoing saturated fat, or living in a cycle of rigid control followed by rebound eating. I want a middle path, less chaos, less processed food, less grazing, more protein, more vegetables, more fiber, enough healthy fat to feel satisfied. Carbohydrates chosen with intention instead of habit. That is the kind of approach that tends to age well. And I think that phrase matters, age well, because weight loss for women in this season should not be about becoming smaller at any cost. It should be about becoming steadier, stronger, and more at home in your body. Can you get through the afternoon without crashing? Can you sleep better? Can you protect muscle while releasing fat? Can you eat in a way that feels peaceful instead of obsessive? Can you trust yourself around food again? That matters far more than chasing the fastest drop on the scale. I remember how desperate I felt when my own body started changing. I wanted answers, yes, but beneath that, I wanted relief. I wanted to feel like myself again. And what I learned is that my body responded much better to nourishment than to punishment. Not endless cardio, not skipping meals, not shrinking my life around food. Nourishment, rhythm, protein, fiber, strength, sleep, honesty. That is why I talk the way I do now. Because I know women in this chapter are not looking for more shame. We are looking for something sustainable, something sane, something that respects the fact that our bodies are wiser, more sensitive, and often less forgiving of extremes than they used to be. So if you are struggling with weight right now, I do not want your first thought to be, I need to start exercising harder. I want your first thought to be, how am I eating now, and is it truly supporting me? Am I satisfied at meals? Am I getting enough protein? Am I constantly snacking because my meals are too weak? Am I eating most of my calories when I am exhausted at night? Am I calling restriction discipline when it is actually just setting me up to overeat later? Those questions can change everything. And then, once the body is more supported, movement can step in as a beautiful partner. Walking because it feels good. Strength training because it protects muscle and bone. Gentle yoga because it helps you feel like you belong to yourself again. Not movement as punishment, movement as partnership. That is the kind of health I believe in. You have spent your whole life caring for others. It is time to care for yourself. And sometimes that care begins by stepping out of the all or nothing cycle and building something steadier. A breakfast that actually feeds you. A lunch that keeps you going. A dinner that comforts without overwhelming. Less grazing, less chaos. More nourishment, more trust. Age is just the beginning, my love. Vibrant doesn't have an age limit. And if you have been telling yourself that weight loss only happens through suffering, I hope today softens that story. Because no, you may not need to punish yourself into change. You may need to nourish yourself into stability. And from that place, so much becomes possible.